Alright, continuing part 3 of the guide. Guide oxidizers 140 fire explosion. The substance actually accelerated burning when involved with the fire. Some decompose explosively when heated involved with the fire. May explode with the heat contamination. Some will react explode with the hydrocarbon fuels. May ignite combustible wood, paper, oil, clothing, etc. Containment may explode when heated. Runoff may create fire and explosion hazard. Heat, health, inhalation, ingestion, contact with skin, eye, the vapor substance may cause severe burn injuries, burns or death. Fire, murder, produce irritating, corrosive, toxic gases. Run off with the fire control dilution water may cause pollution. Call emergency response telephone number and ship it to paper. The shipping papers are not available to no answer for the appropriate telephone number listed inside of the back of the cover. As an immediate precautionary measure, then isolate with the spill local leak area within the direction of 150 feet liquid, 75 for solids. Keep unauthorized personal waste. Stay upwind, uphill, upstream. Ventilate closed space energy. Use the self-contained breathing apparatus. Chemical protective clothing and firefighter structural protective clothing is limited. Evacuation large spill. Consider initial downwind evacuation of 330 feet with the rail tanker car involved with a 1.5 mile with the direction, and one isolate initial evacuation 1.5 mile in all directions. Alright, oxidizers 140. Fire, small fire. Use water. Do not use dry chemicals or foam. CO2 with a headline may provide limited control. Large fire, flood air with water distance. Do not move the cargo vehicle where the cargo has been exposed to heat. Move containers from the fire area if you can do without risk. Fire involved with the tank, the car, trailer, loads, fire foam, maximum distance. Your manholes, holders, monitor nozzle, the cool containers, flooding quantity of the water until after the fire is out. Always stay away from the tanks engulfed in fire. For massive fire, unmanned hose holders and monitor nozzles if that meant possible. Withdraw air with let fire burn. Spill leak. Keep combustibles away from the spilled material. Do not touch damage the spilled material unless for the wearing of the appropriate protective clothing. Stop leak if you can do without risk. Do not get water inside containers. Spill, drip, spill. With a clean shovel to play for the material with the dry container covers loosely. Move the container from the spill area. Small liquid spill. Use a non-combustible material, vermiculite, soda, and or sand to soak up the product and play for the container on the later disposal. Large spill deck ahead of the liquid spill with later disposal. Following productive recover the flush area with water. First aid. Ensure that the medical personnel with the material involved will take precaution, protect themselves, move the fresh air, victim to fresh air. 911. Give the artificial respiration victim to not breathing. Administer oxygen with breathing the difficult. Move the isolated contaminated clothing and shoes. Contaminated clothing may be a fire risk when dry. In case of contact substance, immediately flush skin and eyes with the running water for at least 20 minutes. Keep the victim calm and warm. Our guide for 141 oxidizers toxic. Fire explosion. These substances accelerate burning when involved with the fire. They may explode with the heat and contamination. Some may burn rapidly. Some would be reactively explosive with hydrocarbon fuels. May ignite with combustible wood, paper, oil, clothing, etc. Containers may explode with the heated runoff. May create fire with explosive hazards. Toxic. Health. Toxic ingestion. Inhalation of the toxic. Fire might produce irritating, corrosive, toxic gases. Contact with substance may cause severe burns to skin and eyes. Runoff of the fire control dilution water may cause pollution. Call emergency with the telephone number. Shipping the paper. The shipper is not available. There's no answer for the appropriate telephone number. Is in the sub-access of the cover. Immediate precaution measure for the isolated spill leak area with all the directions of 150 feet for the liquids, 75 feet for the solids. Keep unauthorized personal waste. Stay upwind, uphill, upstream. Ventilate closed spaces from before entering. Protective clothing. Is your positive pressure self-contained breathing apparatus. Chemical protective clothing by the manufacturer. Provide little or no thermal protection. Structural fires. Protective clothing. Only limited protection. Evacuation. Large spill. Consider initial downward direction of 330 feet. If the tanker, rail car, tank, truck is involved, they isolate to 1.5 mile in all directions. Consider initial evacuation 1.5 mile in all directions. Alright, oxidizer toxic. Guide 141. Fire. Small fire. Use water. Do not use dry chemicals or CO2 headline may provide limited control. Large fire. Flooded area with water over the distance. Do not move cargo with a vehicle over the cargo has been exposed to heat. Move the containers from the fire area without risk. If fire involved with the tank or the truckloads. Fire foam. Fire with a maximum distance. Unmanned hose holders. Monitor nozzle. Cold container flooding quantity of the water until the fire is after the fire is out. Always stay away from the tanks engulfed in fire. For massive fire, unmanned hose holders. Monitor nozzle this is impossible. Withdraw to the area and let it fire burn. Spill or leak. Keep combustible wood, paper, oil, etc. away from the spilled material. Do not damage for the container of the spilled material with the wear appropriate protective clothing. Stop the leak if you can do without the risk. Small dry spill with a clean shovel to place the material in clean dry container cover loosely. Move the containers from the spill area. Large spill deck area head after spill disposal. First aid. Ensure the medical personnel are aware of the materials involved with the precautions to protect themselves. Move the victim of the fresh air. 911 emergency. Give give the artificial respiration when it is not before, and administer oxygen breathing is difficult. Remove the isolate with the contaminated clothing and shoes. Contaminated clothing may be a fire risk when dry. In case of the contact substance, immediate flush skin and the eyes with running water at least 20 minutes. Keep victim calm and warm. Alright, Guide 142, oxidized or toxic liquid. Potential hazard of the fire explosion. These substances accelerate burning when involved with fire, may explode with the heat with contamination. Some will react explosive with the hydrocarbons, may ignite combustible with combustibles. Containers may explode with the heated runoff, may create fire explosion hazards. Toxic inhalation, ingestion, contact with skin, eyes, vapor, substance may cause severe injury, burns, or death. Fire may produce irritating, corrosive, toxic gas, toxic, flammable. Fumes may accumulate in confined areas, basement, tanks, tanker cars, etc. Run off with the fire control dilution may cause pollution. Public safety call emergency telephone number to shipping papers first. If the shipping paper is not available, then refer to the appropriate telephone number listed inside of the back of the cover. Immediate precautionary isolate spill and leak area with 150 feet in all directions. Keep on unauthorized personal waste. Stay up when uphill in the upstream. Ventilate cool closed spaces before entering. Protective clothing used when wear positive pressure, self-contained breathing apparatus, chemical protecting with especially recommended manufacturer provide with little or normal thermal protection. Structural firefighting protective clothing provide limited protection in situation only is not effective in the spill situation where direct contact with substance is possible. See table 1 isolation. Initial isolation protective action distance is highlighted material with the highlighted materials increase the downward direction. Necessary isolation shown in the public safety tanker, rail car, tanker, truck involved 1/2 mile in all directions, and also initial evacuation 1/2 mile in all directions. Alright, oxidizers, toxic liquid 142, emergency, small fire, use water, do not use dry chemicals, foam, CO2, or helium, may provide limited control, large fire, flooded fire with water from a distance, do not move the cargo or vehicle if the cargo has been exposed to heat, move containers from fire area if you can do without risk. Alright, fire involved in the tanker and a car tanker load firefighting maximum distance on man hose holders, monitoring out of the cool container with the flood quantity of the water until after the fire is out. Always stay away from the tank of the gulf of the fire for massive fire. Use unmanned and hose holder monitor nozzle if possible withdrawal of the areas fire burn. Alright, speaker leak. Keep combustible wood, paper, oil away from the spilled material through encapsulating vapor product. Protective clothing should be worn and spills leak with no fire. Do not touch the damage contained with spilled material unless for the wear. Appropriate protective clothing. Stop leak if you can do without risk. Use water spray to reduce vapor to revert vapor cloud. Drift. Do not get water inside of the container. Some liquid spill. If you use non-combustible material, vacuum light, sand, or soak up the product with a place container. Later disposal. Large spill deck area ahead of the liquid spill. Later disposal. Ensure that the medical personnel are involved with the precaution itself of victims fresh air. 911 artificial respiration not breathing. Do not use mouthpiece. Use a one-way ventilator, one-way mouthpiece. Administer oxygen breathing. Remove the isolate contaminated clothing. Shoes contaminated clothing may be a fire risk when dry. In contact with substance immediately flush eyes when running water at least 20 minutes. Keep victim calm and warm. Alright, Guide 143, oxidizers unstable, potential, fire explosion, may explode with the friction, heat with the contamination of the substance with accelerating, burning, and involved with the fire, may ignite combustible wood, paper, oil, clothing, etc. Some will react with the exposure of the hydrocarbon fuels. Containers may explode when heated, runoff may create with explosion hazard. Health, toxic inhalation, ingestion, contact skin, eye, vapor dust, and substance may serve with the injury, burns, death with the fire, produced with the irritating toxic gases, toxic fumes, dust accumulate in the confined area, basement tanks, hopper tanks, etc. Runoff with the fire control with the dilution water may cause pollution. Public safety call emergency telephone number. The shipping paper. The shipping paper is not available. No answer. Appropriate telephone number listed in the back of the cover. Immediate precaution. Measure a isolate spill. Also the direction of 150 feet within 75 feet for solids. Keep it unauthorized personal waste. Stay up when upstream. Ventilated closed spaces before entering. Protective clothing. Positive pressure. Self-contained breathing apparatus. Chemical protective clothing. Recommended manufacturer. Provide with little or no thermal protection. Structural fire providing protective clothing, limited protection in fire situation, only if they're not evacuated within spill solution where direct contact substance is possible. See table 1, initial isolation protective action distance, highlighted material with non-highlighted material, increase the downward direction necessary for the isolation addition under public safety. If the tank of the rail car, tanker truck is involved, isolate 1/2 mile in all directions. Also consider initial evacuation 1/2 mile in all directions. Alright, oxidizers unstable to 143. Fire, small, use water, do not use the dry chemicals, foam, CO2, halon may provide limited control, large fire, flood air with water and distance, and move cargo or vehicle with the cargo exposed to heat, move containers from the fire area what you can do without risk, do not get water inside of the container, violent reaction may occur. Fire involved in the tank of the car, trailer, loads, cool container, flooding quantities until the water, well after the fire is out, dike fire, control water, later disposal. Always stay away from the tanks engulfed in fire. For massive fire, unmanned hose holders mounted their nozzles, then impossible withdraw the air, let the fire burn. Spill or leak combustible wood, paper, or oil away from the spill material. Do not damage, touch with the damaged spill material with the wearing the appropriate protective clothing. Use water spray to reduce vapor, to divert vapor, cloud drift, prevent entry to waterways, sewers, basement, confined area, small spill, flush air with the flooding quantity of the water. Large spill, not clean or dispose except under supervision specialists. First aid, ensure medical personnel aware of the material involved with the take the precaution, protect them, move the victim to fresh air, call 911 emergency medical services, give artificial respiration when the victim is not breathing, administer oxygen, breathing is difficult, remove the isolated contaminated clothing, shoes. Contaminated clothing may be to fire risk or dry. In case of the contact substance, immediately flush skin with the eyes in running water at least 20 minutes, keep the victim calm and warm. Alright, 144. Oxidizer water reactive fire explosion may ignite a combustible wood, paper, oil, clothing. Reacts vigorously or explosive with water. Flame reduces toxic corrosive substance for the contact with the water. Flammable toxic gas accumulating tanker cars, hopper cars. Some may produce flammable hydrogen gas using contact with metals. Containment may explode with the heated runoff, may reheat on fire and explosion hazards. Toxic inhalation contact with a vapor substance. The decomposition products may cause severe injury or death. Fire will produce the irritating corrosive toxic gases. Runoff with the fire control dilution. Water may cause pollution. Alright, public safety call, emergency response telephone number to shipping paper. The first shipping paper is not available with no answer. Refer to the appropriate telephone number listed in the inside back of the cover. Immediate precaution measure with isolate the spill and leak in all directions of 150 feet for liquids and 75 feet for the solids. Keep authorized personnel away. Unauthorized personnel away. Stay upwind, uphill, upstream. Ventilate closed spaces before entering. Our protective clothing, wear positive pressure, self-contained breathing out with the chemical protective clothing specifically unrecommended with the manufacturer provide with little or no thermal protection. Structural fire with the protective clothing provide limited protection in the fire situation only is not effective with the spill situation. Direct contact substances is possible. Spill table 1, initial isolation protective action distance of the highlighted material with the non-highlighted materials and the downward direction necessary for the isolation distance shown on the public safety. If the tank of the rail car, tank or truck is involved in the fire within 1/2 mile in all directions, isolate with an initial evacuation 1/2 mile in all directions. Alright, oxidizers water reactive guide 144. Emergency response. Do not use water, foam, small fire, dry chemical, soda ash, or lime, dry soda, chemical, soda ash, lime, withdrawal with the air, let fire burn. Do not move the cargo vehicle with the exposed with the heat. Move the container fire air with you can do without risk. Fire involved with the tank of the car, truck, loads, firefight maximum distance on man hose holders, minor nozzle, cool containers, flooding quantities of the water and well. And after the fire is out, withdraw immediately within inside. Case of rising sound, venting, safety devices, discolorization tank. Always stay away from the tanks involved in the fire. Spill or leak, eliminate ignition source, no smoking, flares, sparks, or flames, immediate air. Do not touch damage, continue air spilled material unless wearing a protective clothing. Stop leak with it can do without risk. Use water to reduce the vapor to divert vapor, cloud drift, avoid water runoff of the spilled material. Do not get water on spilled substance inside container. Small spill, cover with dry earth, dry sand, other non-combustible material, fill up with a plastic sheet with a minimized spreading contact with rain. Large spill, do not clean up with the dispose of the except under supervision specialist. First aid, ensure medical personnel are aware of the material involved to take the precaution to protect themselves, move the victim, fresh air. 911, call 911, give artificial respiration, victim breathing, do not use the mouth-to-mouth method for the inhaled or ingested, artificial respiration with a pocket mask, with a one-way valve with a proper respiratory medical device. Administer oxygen if breathing is difficult, remove the isolated with contaminated clothing, shoes. Contaminated clothing may be a fire risk of the dry and case of the contact substance immediately flush skin, eyes, running water at least 20 minutes. Keep victim calm and warm, but keep victim under observation. Any effects of the contact and inhalation may be delayed. Alright, Guide 145. Oxidizing peroxide, heating, contamination, sensitivity, potential habit of fire explosion may explode with the heat, with the contamination igniting combustible wood, paper, oil, clothing ignited by the heat and spark a flame with a burn rapidly with a flare burning effect. Containers could be exploded heat with the runoff may create with the explosion. Have the health first for a fire may produce irritating corrosive toxic gas. Ingestion with the contact with the skin substance may cause severe injuries or burns. Runoff with the fire control dilution may cause pollution. Public safety call, emergency telephone telephone number, shipping paper with the shipping paper design available, no answer of appropriate telephone number listed inside the back of the cover. Immediate precautionary measures isolate the spill in all directions of 150 feet for liquid, 75 feet for solids. Keep authorized personnel away. Standing upwind, uphill, upstream. Protective clothing, positive pressure, self-contained breathing apparatus, chemical protective clothing. Recommended by the manufacturer. Provide little or no thermal protection. Structural firefighters protect clothing will only provide limited protection. Large spills consider an initial evacuation up to 800 feet of all direction. Fire in a tank, a rail car, tank truck with an isolated 1.5 mile in all directions, and evacuate 1.5 mile in all directions. Alright, your organic peroxide heat and contamination sensitivity. Fire, small fire, water spray fog is preferred. Water is unavailable with dry chemical CO2 in regular form. Large fire, flow to air with the water with the distance. Use water spray with the fog. Do not use straight stream. Do not move cargo with the vehicle. Cargo with the exposed to the heat. Move the containers from the fire if you can do without risk. Fire involved with the cargo, tanker, or trailer. Loads fire for the maximum distance. Use unmanned hose holders. Monitor novel cool container flood quantities of water until the fire is out. Always stay away from the tanks engulfed with the fire for massive. Use unmanned hose holders. Monitor nozzles if possible, withdraw the air, let fire burn. Spill or leak, eliminate ignition sources, keep combustible away from spilled material, not damage contained with the spilled material, and wear appropriate protective clothing, keep substance wet using water spray, stop leaking if you do with a risk. Small spill, pick up the inert damp with the non-combustible material, use them clean down sparking tool, place it loosely with a covered plastic container for later disposal. Large spill, wet down the water dike for later disposal, prevent entry waterway, sewer, basement, or confined areas. Do not clean up and dispose except under supervision of specialist. First aid. Ensure the medical personnel are aware of the material involved with taking the precaution to protect themselves. Move victim fresh air. Call 911 emergency medical services. Give artificial respiration. Victim is not breathing. Administer oxygen if the breathing is difficult. Remove the isolated contaminated clothing and shoes. Contaminated clothing may be a fire risk when dry. Remove the material when the skin is immediate. Remove the material from the skin immediately. In case of the contact substance, immediately flush skin and eyes with running water. At least 20 minutes. Keep victim calm and warm. Alright, your Guide 146, organic peroxide heat contamination, friction sensitive, potential hazards, may explode with a heat shot, friction contamination may ignite with a combustible, may ignite by heat or sparks or flame, may burn rapidly, flare, burning effect, container may explode when heated, runoff, may create fire or explosive hazard. For health, fire may be irritating, corrosive, toxic acid, ingestion, contact with the skin and eye, substance may cause severe injury, burns, runoff of the fire, controlled dilution water may cause pollution. Call emergency response to the telephone number, the shipping paper is not available. No answer. Refer to the appropriate telephone number listed within the inside of the back of the cover. Immediate precaution measure. Isolate the spill leak area, the direction of the 50 meters of the liquid and at least 75 feet for the solids. Keep it unauthorized personal waste. Stay upwind, uphill, upstream. Protective clothing. Wear protective pressure, self-contained breathing apparatus, chemical protective clothing, specially recommended the manufacturer provide. No thermal protection. Structural firefighters protecting will only provide limited protection. Evacuation, large spill, consider an initial evacuation of 800 feet all the directions. Tanker, rail car, tanker involved in fire. Isolate 1/2 mile in all directions and evacuate in 1/2 mile in all directions. Or organic peroxide heat contamination, friction sensitive, small fire, water spray, fog is preferred, a water not available, use dry chemical CO2 regular foam, large fire, flood air with water and distance, use water spray or foam, do not use straight stream, do not move cargo, vehicle cargo exposed to heat, move containers from fire area if you can do without risk, fire involved with the tanks or car loaded trailer loads, firefight with maximum distance, use the unmanned hose holders, monitor nozzles, cool containers, flooding quantities of water until the water is well after the fire is out, always stay away from the tanks engulfed in fire for massive fire. Use unmanned hose holders, monitor nozzles, impossible withdrawal with the air, let fire burn. Spill or leak. Eliminate ignition sources. Keep combustibles away from the spilled materials. Do not damage the container of spilled materials unless the wear is appropriate. Protective clothing. Keep substance when using water spill to stop leak if you can do without risk. Small spill, pick with a near damp non-combustible material used in cleaning down spark tools. Place it in loose covered plastic containers for later disposal. Large spill, wet down the water dike for the later disposal. Prevent entry with the waterways, sewers, basement, and confined areas. Do not clean and dispose except under supervision specialists. Alright, first aid. Ensure medical personnel are aware of the material involved with the taking the precaution to protect themselves. Move the fresh air with the call 911 emergency medical service. Give the artificial respiration for the victim. Non-breathing, administrative oxygen, breathing difficult. Remove the isolated, contaminated clothing shows. Contaminated clothing may be the fine risk when dry. Remove the material with the skin immediately. In case of the contact substance, immediately flush eyes. Swim running water at least 20 minutes. Keep victim calm and warm. Got 147 lithium batteries. And we're going to see how much we got tape so far. We'll keep going. Fire explosion. Lithium batteries contain flammable liquid electrolyte with a ignite with a produced spark with the subject of the high temperatures of less than 150 degrees Celsius or 302 degrees Fahrenheit. When damaged or abused, mechanical damage, electrical overcharging may burn rapidly with a flare burning effect, may ignite with the other batteries close proximity. Health contact. Battery electrolyte may irritating skin, eyes, and mucous membranes. Fire will produce irritating corrosive toxic gases. Burning batteries may produce toxic hydrogen fluoride gases. Fumes may also cause dizziness, suffocation. Public safety call emergency response telephone number. Shipping paper. The shipping paper is not available. No answer for the appropriate telephone number listed inside of the back cover. Immediate precautionary spills. Isolate spill. Leak area up to 75 feet in all the directions. Keep unauthorized people away. Stay uphill, wind uphill and upstream. Ventilated closed spaces before entering. Protective clothing. Wear positive pressure. Self-contained breathing apparatus. Structural firefighting. Protective clothing will only provide limited protection. Evacuation. Large spill. Continue initial downward evacuation at least 100 meters, 330 feet. If the rail car trailer is involved, they isolate 1/3 of a mile in all directions. Initiate evacuation. Emergency responders up to 1/3 of a mile in all directions. Lithium-ion batteries. Guide 170, 147. Fire. Small fire, dry chemical, CO2, water spray, regular foam. Large fire, water spray, foam, fog, regular foam. May contain the fire away from the risk without risk. Spill or leak. Eliminate ignition source. No smoking. Flares, sparks or flames. Immediate area. Do not touch or walk through the spilled material. Absorb with the earth and sand. Non-combustible material. Leaking batteries and contaminated absorbent material should be placed in metal containers. First aid. Ensure the medical personnel aware of the materials involved with the take of the precaution, protect themselves, move victims to fresh air, call 911, give it artificial respiration. Victim is not breathing, administer oxygen if the breathing is difficult, remove the isolated contaminated clothing and shoes, give it the contact substance immediately, flush skin and eyes with running water at least 20 minutes. Alright, Guide 148, organic peroxide, heat, contamination, sensitive temperature control. Potential hazard. Fire explosion may explode with a heat contaminated loss of temperature control of the materials, particularly sensitive to the temperature rising above the control temperature. They decompose violently and catch fire. May ignite combustible wood, paper, combustible, may ignite spontaneously explode to air, may ignite by heated sparks or flames, may rapidly burn with a flare burning effect. Containers may explode with the heated runoff, may create fire and has explosive hazard. Fire may produce irritating corrosive toxic gas ingestion with the skin and eye. The substance may serve the injury. Burns or run off with a fire control dilution. Water may cause pollution. Call emergency response telephone number and a shipping paper. If shipping paper is not available, and refer to the appropriate telephone number listed inside of the back of the cover. Immediate precautionary measures. Isolate spill in all directions of 150 feet with liquid, 75 feet with solids. Keep authorized personnel away. Stay upwind upstream. Do not get allow the substance to warm. Obtain liquid nitrogen. Wear thermal protection clothing. Guide 120. Dry ice for cooling. This is not possible. None can be obtained. Evacuate the area immediately. Protective clothing. Wear positive pressure, self-contained breathing apparatus. Chemical protective clothing with a recommended with the manufacturer provide little or no thermal protection. Structural firefighter protective clothing will only provide limited protection. Evacuation. Large spills. Consider evacuation up to 800 feet in all directions. If tanker, rail car, tanker truck is involved, 1/2 mile in all. Isolate 1/2 mile in all directions and 1/2 mile evacuation. Alright, Guide 148, organic peroxide, heat, contamination, sensitive to temperature control. The temperature of the substance must be maintained with the control of the temperature at all times. Small fire, water spray with the fog is preferred. Water not available to use dry chemical, CO2, regular flame, foam. Flood fire area with water distance. Use water spray of the foam. Do not use stray streams. Do not use move cargo vehicle. Cargo has been exposed to heat move container for the foam from fire area. Do not. You can do it without risk. Fire involved with the tank of the car, tanker, truck loads. Firefight with a maximum distance. Use unmanned hose holders. Monitor nozzle. Cool container flooding quantities of the water well after the fire is out. Beware of possible container explosion. Always stay away from the tanks engulfed in fire. For massive fire, unmanned hose holders. Monitor nozzle. If this is impossible, withdraw area and let it burn. Spill or leak. Eliminate ignition sources. Keep combustibles away from spilled materials. Don't touch. Walk through spilled material. Stop leak if you can do it without risk. Small spills. Pick up the nearest damp, non-combustible material used and clean. Non-sparking tools. Place it loosely with a covered plastic container. Later disposal. Large spilled like far-headed liquid spill. Later disposal. Prevent entry waterway to sewers, basement, confined areas. Do not clean up and dispose except for the under supervision of specialists. Ensure medical personnel are aware of the medical materials involved with the precautions to protect themselves. Move the victim to fresh air. Call 911. Give it the artificial respiration. Administer oxygen. Breathing is difficult. Remove and isolate contaminated clothing and shoes. Contaminated clothing may be the fire risk when dry. Remove the material with the skin immediately. In case of contact substance, immediately flush skin and eyes with running water for at least 20 minutes. Keep the victim calm and warm. Alright, Guide 149, Substance Self-Reactive. Fire explosion, self-decomposition, self-polymerization, self-ignition may be triggered with a heat, chemical reaction, friction, or impact may ignite with a heat or spark of flame. Some decompose explosive with the heat that involve fire. The substance is designated with a P for polymerizer explosive when heat that are involved with the fire may be burned violently. Decomposition polymerizers may be self-accelerating, produce large amount of gas, vapors, dust, more explosive mixture of the air. Health, inhalation, contact with a vapor substance with a decomposition product may cause severe injury or death, may produce irritating toxic arrows. If gases run off with fire control, may cause pollution. Public safety call, emergency telephone number, shipping paper. The first shipping paper is not available or no answer, no appropriate telephone listed in the back on the phone book. Immediately precaution measures to leak and spill in all directions 150 feet and 75 feet solid. Keep unauthorized personal waste, upwind, uphill, upstream, protective clothing, pop pressure, self-contained breathing apparatus, chemical protective clothing, specialized and recommended by the manufacturer. Structured firefighting, protective clothing only when provided limited protection. Evacuation, consider initial evacuation up to 800 feet in all directions of a tank or the rail car to link truck involved in fire 1/2 mile in all directions and evacuation 1/2 mile in all directions. Alright, substances self-reacted 149. Fire, small fire, dry chemical, CO2, water spray, regular foam, flood air with wind from water from distance, move containers from the fire if you do not without risk. Fire involved with the car, tanker loads, beware possible container explosion. Firefight, maximum distance, unmanned hose holder, mounted nozzle, cool container, flood quantity of the water until after the fire is out. Withdraw immediately, causing rising fire, venting safety devices, discolorization tank. Always stay away from the tanks engulfed in fire. Eliminate ignition sources, no smoke, flare, sparks, flames, or immediate area. Do not touch, walk through spilled material. Stop leak if you can do without risk. Small spill, pick up the inert diameter non-combustible material using clean, non-sparkable tools placed in loosely covered plastic containers with later disposal. Prevent entry to waterways, sewer, basement, and the confined areas. First aid, ensure medical personnel are aware of the material involved will take the precaution to protect themselves, the victim, with fresh air 911. Artificial respiration for the breathing. Administer oxygen for the breathing is difficult. Remove it, isolate with contaminated clothing and shoes. In case of contact and substance, immediately flush eyes, skin, and eyes with the running water at least 20 minutes and to keep victim calm and warm. Alright, Guide 150, substance self-reactive temperature control. We're going to cut the tape there.